The Great American Outdoors with Ron Shear is brought to you by Astro Quickfire F-18, America's hottest performance boat. Mariner Outboards, they're better in the long run. DuPont Stren Fishing Lines. Remington Arms, it's what you're shooting for. This week, the Great American Outdoors takes you on a winter adventure in Alaska. Riding through the scenic beauty of the Alaskan backcountry on snow machines, Ron is joined by Dave Vickery, Public Affairs Chief, BLM Alaska, Mike Dombeck, BLM Washington, Randy Tracy, United States Ranger, BLM, and Eric Yeager, Outdoor Recreation Planner, BLM Alaska. The adventure begins as we travel the Wickersham Creek Trail in the White Mountains National Recreation Area, the heart of Alaska. Stay with us for an outstanding episode of the Great American Outdoors.
America's most northern state, Alaska, in the wintertime. Fun and adventure. We'll be right back.
In the future, state-of-the-art autoloaders will be engineered with red cocking indicators to identify when they're ready to fire. 10-shot magazines for rapid loading. Rear sights adjustable for windage and elevation. Stocks will be synthetic and totally weather-resistant. The autoloaders of the future will be judged against this one. It's the first 22 from the 21st century. Viper. See it at your Remington dealer.
Successful hunters know the average hunting dog may work out up to 3 hours a day on his own. So remember to feed Purina High Pro. The all-year training diet with 28% more protein than the leading dry dog food, plus 1,750 calories per pound. Purina High Pro, because there is no off-season for a hunting dog.
It's Orlando Wilson!
For thousands of anglers, fishing is a gentleman's sport, where a keen eye and a learned head can capture the most prized possession.
Magnafin? Smoothest casting line there is, Bubba.
Still, they want the same line the pros rely on. Stren Fishing Lines, the choice of the pros.
Hey, there's a box!
At the Mariner test facilities, we run our outboards day and night for weeks at a time, right up to the breaking point.
How's the endurance test going?
Seems to be running pretty strong!
At Mariner, we don't just test our outboards, we test the limits. For the Mariner dealer near you, call 1-800-526-6645.
Along with my good friend Dave Vickery from Alaska and Mike Dombeck, who's been on the show before, Mike called and asked me if I'd like to come to Alaska in the wintertime. Mike, I tell you what, it's everything that you promised it would be. Is this beautiful country or what?
This is fantastic. What a beautiful day. Who would expect 30-degree weather in the wintertime close to the Arctic Circle?
I know, and the snow was what, 3 foot deep? In places it's 5 foot deep, but just overall, you know, like right here, we're on top of the ridge, we're 6 or 8 inches. This whole show, we're going to be trying to show the multiple use of the BLM. I know your boss, Cy Jameson, is going to be coming in. He is the director of the BLM. He's going to be coming in for a dedication ceremony. What is being dedicated, Mike?
Well, what we have here in the White Mountain National Recreation Area is a series of trails and cabins used by snowmobilers, dog sledders, people that just want to get out by themselves and enjoy the outdoors. And we've got a segment of this trail that's being open to the public tomorrow that Director Jameson will be here to dedicate for us.
Well, you know, the thing that we want to emphasize right here is that this is open to the public. This is all public land, and those cabins, like the one you see behind us, are built by the BLM. They have a fee. You register ahead of time, and you pay a fee to stay in this cabin. But trust me, if you were riding through this country, you know, the snowmobile lanes are kept open for the dog sleds and the snowmobiles. But what a great spot to build a cabin. I mean, you know, and this is something that is the multiple use again. This is all this range is open for hunting, is it not?
That's right. You know, Ron, not many people think about hunting, fishing, snowmobiling, dog sledding, cross-country skiing when you think about the public lands. And here you have all this. And we've got 93 million acres here in Alaska, 270 million acres nationwide, and it's open for all sorts of uses, everything from livestock grazing to mining to people out enjoying themselves watching wildlife, hunting, fishing, and all those things Americans cherish so dearly.
Dave, what is your official capacity in Alaska in the BLM?
Ron, I'm Chief of Public Affairs for BLM in Alaska, which means a lot of things, but it means most of all dealing with people who want to come out and have fun and looking for information about Alaska, about being able to recreate out here, where to hunt, where to fish, and to be able to provide that information and talk about this great area and other areas we've got in the state and just make it available.
How does somebody go about getting a hold of all the information on this? Is it a Washington contact or directly to your office?
Well, you can contact my office directly, and we'll get you the address for it. And certainly, anytime you want to get a hold of the Washington office, they can get requests out to us, and then we'll give you the address of our district office. From an organizational standpoint, we have 5 districts that manage the 93 million acres we take care of up here in Alaska, and we can get those local addresses to people that might want to think about making a trip up this way. We'd love to see them.
The Bureau of Land Management, or BLM as most people call it, traces its roots back to 1812 when Congress established the General Land Office to administer the public domain. Of the 1.8 billion acres of public land originally acquired by the United States, 2/3 went to individuals, industries, and the states. The rest was set aside for national parks, wildlife refuges, national forests, and other public purposes. Today, the BLM administers 1/8 of this country's lands, about 270 million acres. The BLM also manages the mineral estate underlying another 300 million acres. Our lands are located primarily in the western states and Alaska. Our management, as directed by Congress with the passage of the Federal Land Policy and Management Act of 1976, is based on the principle of multiple use. Multiple use basically means administering the public lands and resources for a combination of uses that best serve the increasing needs of the American people. We are striving for a balance of renewable and non-renewable resources among competing uses and users. There are more than 92 million acres of BLM-managed public lands open to general recreation in Alaska. The White Mountains National Recreation Area covers 1 million acres of land and includes over 200 miles of maintained winter trails for snow machines, dog sleds, and cross-country skiers. The ruggedness of the White Mountains require much planning and preparation. Warm winter clothing for -20 degrees and colder temperatures are a must, as are the special Arctic boots, which are not just for keeping your feet warm. The wide sole also helps when walking through waist-deep snow. Each snow machine is outfitted with enough food, fresh water, fuel, and first aid gear to supply Ron and the crew through any situation on the trail that may delay the journey to their cabin. Riding these snow machines requires a lot of skill and caution to cross the overflows above the frozen streams and driving through the deep snow along the side of the packed trails. Overflows are patches of ice that form on top of the snow and ice above a stream. If you're not careful during a crossing, one of these 1,000-pound machines can get scary fast. The trip from the trailhead to Windy Gap Cabin, where we will camp out, is about 43 miles cross-country. The trail itself takes you through areas of a pristine wilderness.
past 25 years have been the golden age of bass fishing, thanks largely to Ray Scott and his vision of the Bass Angler Sportsman Society.
Larry's right. Now you can share in all the tips, the techniques, and the know-how bass fishing pros mastered in those golden years when you join Bass.
As a member, 25 years of bass angling expertise are yours in the pages of Bassmaster magazine. 10 big issues a year will show you how to reel in the big ones. Plus, you'll stay up to date on the latest fish catching technology.
And don't forget the boat theft reward protection, fishing information service, and other member benefits, Ken. So,
if you're serious about bass fishing,
and we know you are,
you belong in BASS.
So just do it. Join now.
Call 1-800-336-2100 to join Bass and get your free 25th anniversary tackle pack with Berkley's Power Lizard, Bill Norman's Deep Baby, and Berkley's Ultra Thin Line and a Bass Spinnerbait. With your $15 paid membership, you'll also receive 10 issues of Bassmaster magazine and your membership pack. That's 1-800-336-2100.
When anti-hunters plant poison dog food in your favorite hunting spot,
you'll say, "Where's the NRA?"
When they spike your access roads,
you'll say, "Where's the NRA?" And when they ban your hunting guns, you'll say, "Where was the NRA?"
Join the NRA now to protect your hunting heritage and defeat the anti-hunting agenda.
When they close the seasons in your hunting lands,
you'll say, "Where's the NRA?"
Help protect the hunter's heritage of wildlife conservation. Join the NRA.
Call now and get a year of great magazines, a no-fee Visa card, a Hunter Orange NRA cap, special insurance benefits, plus access to world-class hunter safety and skills training.
You see, when hunting is gone forever, your son won't ask, "Where was the NRA?" He'll ask, "Where were you?"
Where were you?
Where were you?
Where were you?
So come on, join the NRA now.
Riding along the trail provides one with views as diverse as looking down over a 50-square-mile valley from the top of a mountain peak, as well as places looking straight up the side of a limestone wall to the peak. Traveling through the trails, you see evidence of big game animals, such as this fresh set of tracks in the snow that Ron and Eric discovered.
Another one of the great things about the high country here in Alaska, you just, as you go down the snowmobile trails, you see a lot of moose tracks and wolves and everything else. Right here, we're right on this creek. The moose come down here, don't they, Eric, just to eat?
They run the creek beds to feed because that's where you see all the alders and willows, and they eat the buds off these.
There you can see right here, they've eat the buds right off this one. Just nipped them off, and you said earlier, looking at the tracks, of course you live here, this is probably yesterday.
Yeah, probably so.
Look at this one over here. Now this is just much like white-tailed deer do. Old moose will take his horns and break this over just so he can get to the buds, and I guess a lot of times they'll do that so the young ones can eat too.
Yeah, maybe so.
Break it over.
You guys come through here sometimes during the winter, it looks like a helicopter came through upside down and just sheared everything off in a flat plain.
What elevation are we right now?
I would guess that we're about 2,400 feet.
Do they range much to the moose here? I mean, do they go up in the mountains and come back down? Or
I think as the snow gets deeper and deeper, they start working their way down and closer to the creek beds and out towards Beaver Creek, which is a little closer to 2,000 foot elevation, 1,800.
I would feel like that they would do it just opposite. You'd think the low areas down in the valley would catch more snow, but I guess that's not true.
Well, in some of these areas where you're above tree line, yeah, it's wind blown, and for sheep and caribou and stuff, they may stay up a little higher so they can get to the lichens. And the moose tend to just drop down to the creek beds because the snow's a little deeper. They got all the willow bushes right along the beds. And,
well, the moose foot is really, you can tell by looking at those tracks right here. We'll get over and get a real close-up shot of the track that, the big old pad foot that a moose has enables them. That's how they can survive and walk in all this snow and deep snow. And they can go through snow. A lot of this snow you've seen us off in the show, it's like this deep. It's a good test for the Remington gear that I'm wearing. I tell you what, the extreme weather clothes work, I'll tell you. And, but a moose, he can just wander around, just go right through that situation because of the kind of foot that he has, and nature has provided well for him. And it's certainly quite an experience to come to Alaska in the wintertime. Let's go on down the trail.
After arriving at the Windy Gap cabin, Ron, Dave, Mike, Randy, and Eric set up camp in this spacious 12 by 16 log cabin. In addition to Windy Gap, there are 8 other cabins maintained by the BLM, available for use by the people who are using the trails. The cabins are made of Alaskan white spruce and include wood stoves, cooking areas, wooden bunks and mattresses, as well as a lantern, saw, and axe for firewood. Each cabin also has its only truly unique panoramic view of the White Mountains, Limestone Jags, Wickersham Dome, and Mount McKinley. On the next day, Ron and the men from the BLM rode up the trail to look at the view from the Caribou Cliff Cabin above Beaver Creek. Leaving Caribou Bluff and venturing down the Fossil Cap Trail to Beaver Creek, Ron met with BLM fishery biologist Brian Lubinsky and BLM volunteer Tim DuPont. Brian and Tim are working to determine the wintering habits of Arctic grayling.
What we're doing now is we're looking at different areas that are important to the fish species in Beaver Creek, and this involves sampling the fish populations. Right now in this area here is an open water lead that we've identified as important to the fish in Beaver Creek, and we've set some traps to sample the fish populations, determine what species are here, and what size ranges and age classes are in this particular habitat.
Well, Mike, I would think that the wintertime would be the hardest on the fish, and I know one of BLM's concerns is making sure that the fish survive the winters.
That's right, Ron. You know, here in Alaska, there's some of the best fishing in the world, and thanks to the work of people like Brian, we want to keep it that way.
Well, you know, is it basically then you have the fishery biologists come out here along with the traps and all the instruments that they use to check, and is it a way to improve the habitat? What is going to be the main emphasis? I know there's lots of visitors that come every year to this, and a lot of people will walk up through here this winter or this summer fishing. You know, is it to improve the habitat, or?
Well, it's that. First of all, you know, we have to know what's up here. Secondly, we've got to manage the habitat so those fish survive. And third, we've got to let people know what kind of fish are here, so when they come here to have a good time, we can tell them.
Well, one thing that people would have to remember is this is the closest thing, folks, to virgin water. I mean, you know, nobody hardly ever fishes it, and yet, you know, it's certainly a good foot forward for the BLM people to be here controlling it, making sure that the fishing is good, the fish are being taken care of, and I'm looking forward to getting on down and checking the traps and see, now if we got fish in the traps, what are we going to do to them?
Well, we have a couple of radio transmitters we're using to implant into grayling and determine where they spend their time.
Arriving by helicopter, former BLM Director Cy Jameson landed at Beaver Creek to meet Ron and go to dedicate the opening of the final trail segment in the White Mountains and take a trip on dog sled.
Winston, quite a dog sled team you have here. Probably the oldest means of transportation, or certainly one of them in Alaska in the far north country, is dog sleds. With John and Winston here, we're going to have an opportunity today to ride some dog sleds, and I really look forward to it. Winston, give me a quick rundown about a dog sled team.
Oh, basically for a team, you need a minimum of really only 2 dogs that'll go where you tell them. You know, that'll respond to some commands. Of course, the more dogs you get, the more power you have, and generally the further you can go.
What is the range of a team like this? Y'all running 10 dogs apiece, I can tell.
Yeah, it's virtually unlimited. We could cruise along 50, 60 miles a day without too much trouble. You did a ride a long distance sled dog race we have in Alaska. It's about 1,100 miles, and they average roughly 100 miles a day in that race.
How many hours is that?
They normally run 4 hours on, 4 hours off, and alternate. There's a lot of variations to that theme, but that's a basic scheme.
John, would you give me a little ride down through here for a little ways?
I'd love to give you a ride.
I'll get the hook, okay? All right. You ready? This is like drag racing. Good luck, Ron.
All right. Let's go. Let's go. Come on.
All right, let's stop him here. We'll be right back. Si will be joining us in a minute.
Hurry! Hey, it's Bill Dance. Oh, you want some flossy fishing line? Keeps fish teeth strong and healthy. And some real fin. Keeps bass fit and trim.
5 spools of Strin Super Tough, please.
Super Tough?
Yep, going for a trophy. I know you.
Hey!
Stren Fishing Lines, the choice of the pros.
Hey, my chain! What about my chain?
What a ride!
Take off with an Astro.
In the future, state-of-the-art autoloaders will be engineered with red cocking indicators to identify when they're ready to fire. 10-shot magazines for rapid loading. Rear sights adjustable for windage and elevation. Stocks will be synthetic and totally weather-resistant. The autoloaders of the future will be judged against this one. It's the first 22 from the 21st century. Viper. See it at your Remington dealer.
Successful hunters know the average hunting dog may work out up to 3 hours a day on his own. So remember to feed Purina High Pro. The all-year training diet with 28% more protein than the leading dry dog food, plus 1,750 calories per pound. Purina High Pro, because there is no off-season for a hunting dog.
Hi folks, this is Ron Shear. Wouldn't it be great to just pick up the phone and instantly know the best time and place to fish? Hey, it's not a dream. It's the Keystone Beer Fishing Hotline. Call them 1-900-407-FISH. Find out today. Si, quite a ride on a dog sled, wasn't it?
Oh, that's terrific. I tell you what, I didn't think 10 little dogs could do that much. You know, look at me, I'm no small gentleman.
Well, I'm not either. And you know, the power that they got, can you believe that?
Yeah, and we had 2 dog teams. You had one that's basically a recreational dog team, and the one I was on was a kind of a short distance race team. It was really something, wasn't it?
People get into it. You know, that's something, as we look here behind us in the White Mountains and the markers are in place, and we've got to get down there and dedicate that marker. That's obviously why we're all here, and the thing I wanted to do was to share with our viewers every week exactly what the BLM is doing. You know, it's a multiple use. Has been one of the songs that you've been singing for many, many years, and you know, tell us about the multiple use of the BLM.
Well, what we do is we have what I call the new BLM. We used to be all associated with just livestock grazing, mining, and oil and gas, and now we're really truly multiple use. We're riding dog sleds. That was and we're doing recreation, and that's not the only type of recreation we have. We have good wildlife programs, good recreation programs, cultural resources programs. That's what really multiple use is all about, putting all those together. And we're just participating in one. You can hear the dogs in the background probably, and these fellas like it up here.
And this is also an area, Mike, we were talking about earlier. This is open for hunting, is it not?
That's right. Some of the best hunting in the world is right here in Alaska.
Well, we've seen moose, caribou, wolves, all types of hunting, and it's all public land. We keep trying to emphasize that. We've got to get on down here because, as you can imagine, it's dead in the middle of wintertime right here. Cameras are freezing up. We're all cold. I'm going to take Si's toboggan. Let's get on down here. This is supposedly the last marker, one of the last ones anyway, that was put up. It's all ready.
And these dogs don't like to sit around up here on a pass where it's windy. They like to move.
Those dogs are set on go, aren't they?
They're set on go, and let's go with them.
All right, let's get down here. We're here, and it's the last mile markers are in place. Si, it's a dedication of the opening of the trail. Tell us about it.
Well, this is the White Mountain National Recreation Area, the only one managed by the Bureau of Land Management in the whole United States of America. This whole area, as you see by this trail marker, is open to winter recreation. We have a series of cabins that go completely in a big circle.
We've been staying in them.
You've been staying in them. It's a great time. And what we do is we've opened this area to all types of recreation. What we're doing right now is we're on dog sleds, snowmobiles, foot traffic, whatever, in the winter. We're 100 miles approximately below the Arctic Circle. And what this is this is a winter wonderland of recreationists for all Americans. And what we want to do is have a little bit for everybody. And I think this place does it. We're in here in the winter. You come back in the summer, Ron, and we'll do the same thing, but do it on foot trail or with ATVs. It's a place where I think we can manage both.
Well, you should take a lot of personal gratification as well as gratification for the Bureau of Land Management, because you were very instrumental in getting this whole plan put together. It's open, and the most important thing is, like we talked a couple of years ago when you first started with the BLM, running it anyway, was a multiple use in it. This is open for everybody. It's public land and everybody's invited up. Si, thanks for coming up, buddy. I'll take my glove off. It's awful cold, but we'll get it.
It's cold and our faces are red, but it's great.
And Ed, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Enjoyed your state.
Don't get to say.
Take care, Ron. Thank you for coming.
And you come on, as they say, come back see us sometime.
Well, we'll do it. And y'all be sure and catch us next week. Remember, we like to do them like you like to watch them. And can you believe riding a dog sled out of those mountains? This is beautiful country. Try to get up here. We'll see you next week.